Is someone who talks to business leaders nationwide, small, large, and huge, every single day. Suzanne Clark is the CEO of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. They want you to do the hard talking, Suzanne. What are they telling you?
Well, hi, Liz. I'm happy to be on your list and join you here today.
Always welcome.
Look, I think that whether you're running a big company or a small company or a local chamber across the country right now, what you're looking for is certainty, right? What CEOs say is when it's foggy, you don't drive faster. You pull over, you put on your hazards, you try to figure out what's moving forward. And so what's happening with these tariffs is if you're a small business, you have no idea if you have the cash flow to pay for the cargo that could be on the ocean. If you're a big business, you have no idea how to make a plan. So the uncertainty, the moving deadlines, the uncertainty in the numbers of who's going to make a deal, who won't, is making it really hard for companies to plan, to grow, to invest. Now that said, the CEOs are also pretty happy we finally have an administration that's talking about trade. We haven't had a new trade deal in 13 years. So a trade deal that actually lowered tariffs and non-tariff barriers could be good for the U.S. economy.
No doubt, Suzanne. But let's tackle what CEOs are dealing with at the moment. You represent a huge number of Fortune 100 companies. Let's start with the big people here. Tell me what they are saying to you. I know you are there to lobby for them. Go ahead and lobby. If you had the president's ear, what would you say?
I would say let's get to real sustainable trade agreements as fast as we can. The deal that's on the table with India could be really important for American workers and communities and companies to open up that big market. But we have to stop the uncertainty and the back and forth of tariffs as a tactic. They are killing small businesses, which are the suppliers and vendors and customers of big businesses, right? It's an ecosystem, and it's making it almost impossible for a company to expand here, which is really the goal, right? For companies to do more business here. And these tariffs and the uncertainty in your supply chain are really making that hard.
You know, I'm looking at this list that came out, and Laos has been hit in Asia by 40% tariffs. This is interesting to me because we haven't heard a lot about Laos, but this is a country where companies have gone from the United States trying to get away from China manufacturing. So they went to Vietnam, then Vietnam got kind of attacked for a while there. India is still not quite in the president's good graces, although we appear to see that close. But what happens to a manufacturer, maybe a smaller company, that has moved to Laos because they didn't want to get hit with the China hate, and now they're in trouble? Because let's keep it real here. It's not Laos that pays the tariffs. It's U.S. companies that import manufactured goods from Laos, correct?
Oh, yeah. And Liz, I think you make a really good point. You know, I was doing some research on my way over to the studio. There are 26,000 small businesses in the United States that import from Japan and South Korea, two important American allies, right? So you have 26,000 small businesses who all of a sudden are looking at this huge tariff bill that they certainly don't have the cash flow to pay when that cargo hits the West Coast port. We hear from small businesses every day who say, I have to go out of business because I can never pay that bill.
Well, the president has been really supportive of small businesses. Why aren't they automatically getting excluded from tariffs? It really should, in a way. As I understand it, you wrote the administration a letter saying after a certain market cap, like below that, small businesses are the backbone of the U.S. economy. Is there any chance that they would get automatic exclusions? What did the administration say in response to your letter?
It's a great question, and I will say that I have found particularly the Treasury Department really interested in these stories and really trying to understand the specific impact in specific places of these tariffs. But so far, no answer to us on what an exclusion process would look like. We're still holding out hope. There was a process in Trump 1 for certain businesses to be able to plead their case.
I remember.
We know that they're looking at it, right? But we think it's really important. And again, speed is important. It's one thing to say, hey, you know, in 6 months we could have a bunch of deals, or in 9 months, but you're talking about small businesses with a couple of weeks of cash flow. And to your point about Laos, companies trying to make strategic decisions to be in the best interests of the United States, but not at all sure how to read these tea leaves.
couple of weeks of cash flow and then they are out. I don't think the president wants that on his shoulders or his legacy. And he is trying to go with speed, but the 90 deals in 90 days doesn't appear to be gelling at the moment. Suzanne, please come back because I'd like to hear from some of your small businesses who are in real trouble.
We'll bring some with us, Liz. Thank you so much.
Suzanne Clark, Chamber